Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to be talking about Hozier's most recent album Unearth, and I'm going to be giving one book recommendation per song, and this is going to be part 1, so I'm doing 8 songs, 8 books today, and then in next week's video I'll do the rest of the 8 songs and 8 recommendations, book recommendations. So yeah, I hope you're excited because I am, because I really love this album. I have been a fan for Hozier for a long time and I continue to be so. And I had the opportunity to see him for the first time in concert for this album last week, 2 weeks ago, and it's been in my head ever since, hence this video. So yeah, let's get into it. So for the Selby part 1, the vibes are quite, for me in a way, ethereal, but it's also on the gothic side, and it's a bit reflective and a bit, for me at least, about loneliness. And a book I would recommend based on the impression I got from the song, and also talking with my roommate. Thank you to both my roommates for helping because I was brainstorming. Is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. It has these elements of gothicness and of loneliness in it that I think fit quite nicely with this song. I don't have that much more to say about that one, I think. Alright, the Selby part 2, one of my favorite songs from the album, has a similar vibe to the Selby part 1, but it's more on the dark and obsessive part, and it's also a little bit sexy. And the book that immediately popped into my head is Patricia Wants to Cuddle by Samantha Allen. And you, at first, when you see the book cover, you're not going to think, oh yeah, this is super like Hozier. It's no. But the book has to do, actually it starts off with the premise of a dating show. Stick with me. It starts with the premise of a dating show, but it gets really bizarre because, actually the book is bizarre in general. Dating shows at their core are bizarre. But they go on this island, and this island has kind of a lore to it, of people going missing, things like that. And through the book, especially when they're on the island, you see how each of the final 4 girls, I think, kind of grapples with something personally. And one of the main voices, I think her name was Renee. I just looked at the summary and the name's not written, but I think her name was Renee. Is also dealing a bit with her sexuality. And later on the book just gets a bit more, it just gets darker and more obsessive, and the way Patricia, you don't know who Patricia is at the beginning, the way Patricia is described and the relations to Patricia are described, I think fit with the song. So I think if you like this song, you like kind of the dark, obsessive, but also a bit sexy vibes, but you're not out like looking for erotica, then I think Patricia Wants to Cuddle is a good book for you. Alright, first time. First time to me is a lot about the self, a connection to love and loved ones, and kind of discovering yourself through that lens, but also about how you have to let go sometimes, and through that process, in a way, you're reborn. That's how I'm open to hear other people's interpretations, by the way, so feel free to comment them. And for this book, for this song, I think Unearth for Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Fong is a very fitting recommendation. I think it's a beautiful book. I think the song is also beautiful, and just the way that Ocean Fong deals, not just writes about himself, but also his mother and his relationship with his mother, but also his first love, I think is incredibly touching. And when I read the lyrics for this song, it reminded me of his work. So, yeah. Alright, for Francesca, I was struggling a bit, I'm not gonna lie, because I don't read a lot of romance centered books. And I feel like Francesca is very much, I think Hozier described it as unshakable love. And it's about, even though life's a mess and things are in your way, you, and maybe your partner is a mess, you still love each other, and you would do all the bad things, you go through all the bad things again just so you can be in love again with that person, right? So, not a romance book girly, normally. I've been trying to get a bit into it, but not enough. So I was thinking about books that feature relationships or situationships or whatever that reminded me of Francesca. And I think, if you read this, I think you might agree with me. Six of Crows by Lee Berdugo, the duology, but first book, of course, Six of Crows. I think that the relationships between some of the characters are reminiscent of the sentiment in Francesca. Because Six of Crows, the premise is basically a heist. And also kind of a gothic vibe, which fits with the album vibe, I feel. But everything's a mess. These people have trauma, they have secrets, it's messy. It's messy. Nobody has their shit, like, sorted out. So, putting love in that scenario creates a bit of tension, creates some drama. It's not always easy. Yeah, I think it would be a lovely match. And I'm gonna check TikTok after this because I'm pretty sure there's edits of Six of Crows on this audio, but I have not confirmed that yet, but I will. So, you have me floating like a feather on the sea while you're asleep. Alright, so for I Carrion, two teams, Euphoria and Naivety in Love. So that's three teams. Anyway. I was thinking about this a lot. Because I wasn't sure what to do because of naivety in love. Believing that everything's going to go alright, it's going to be alright, nothing's gonna go bad. But yeah, being a bit naive. But hear me out. I know the song has to do with Icarus. I hope I pronounced that right. Icarus, and that's in Greek mythology, right? If you go to another story in Greek mythology, which is Achilles and Patroclus, Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, I think it fits because the relationship between Patroclus and Achilles starts at a quite young, they meet each other at a quite young age, right? And I feel that sometimes you're not as aware of how brutally you can be torn apart or how frowned upon you or your relationship can be within a wider setting. And I believe they kind of just, of course there were issues, of course there was reality, but they kind of just stuck together despite the mess around them. And then the way the book kind of ends, I think fits with this song as well. I'm not going to spoil it I feel a lot of people have read this, but not everyone. So I'm not going to spoil it. But it also has to do why I think it fits. Also, computing the sentence. I think it also fits because of the references to Atlas in the song, and how sometimes your loved one is the one holding up the world. I don't know if that's meant as in your world or just the world in general, or like keeping you away from issues. I'm not sure about that. But also how you want your loved one to use you as support as well, letting go a bit of that weight. And I think that's portrayed in the book as well, in between Patroclus and Achilles. So would recommend that. Yep. Alright, track number 6, I believe. Eat Your Young. Eat Your Young confused me so much, because it starts off and I'm like, okay, this is a sexy song. This song is about sex, but it's political critique, but it's also kind of, it's giving both, right? So it's political critique, but it's also kind of sexy. And I was like, which fucking book have I read that is political critique but also a bit sexy? And I couldn't think of much, to be honest. But I think this is for the fantasy readers. I was about to say the title song. I think She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan is a good fit, because the book, who's the main character? So the main character Zhu, I'm gonna say they here because in the book the gender is ping-ponging back a bit because of the plot. And I haven't read the sequel yet, but I'm suspecting things. But basically what happens is Sue is born in this small village, grows up in a small village, and there's a famine, and like everyone dies except them, right? And then they start a new life in a monastery, I believe. But then there's also a rebellion taking place because the political situation is shit. And they become a part of this rebellion. So it's very interesting. It has a lot of political themes in it, a lot of critique as well. It also has to do partially with famine, Eat Your Young, and it also showcases how young people are often involved in conflicts and war and put at the front because sometimes it's just that they don't have a choice, which I think you can see around us a lot as well. How people, who speaks up and who doesn't. So yeah, I think it fits quite well with the song, and it's a good book, and I would recommend it. And for those who don't like fantasy that much, my roommate recommended a book as well, but I haven't read it. But I'll just mention it because the way she was describing it, it really makes sense, and that's Wuthering Heights. Emily Bronte, I believe. I'm looking that up. I don't trust myself. Correct. Yeah. Alright, for Damage Gets Done, the song, I read the Genius lyrics thing because I need help. It's about young people, specifically teenagers, and how often they are kind of just misunderstood and misconstructed within discourse and blamed for issues in the world, even though most of the time they have less power, they have less say in matters. And also about how when you're a teenager you are more grateful and happier with simple things. You know, like you don't care about which car you have, you care about having a car. You don't care about what mattress you're sleeping on, you're just happy to be sleeping over at your friends, you know, things like that. So I was thinking about the sense of being a teen and being misunderstood and kind of this disconnect with adults, but also having this little group that you're very happy in and you find yourself in. And the book that matches that energy, that vibe, is Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I think it's perfect, almost, but it's because, what's his name, Charlie? Pretty sure it was Charlie. Yeah, so it's about Charlie, and Perks of Being a Wallflower is a bit about from how he moves from this very isolated existence into a friend group, but also the things that go wrong around him, his relation with adults, things like that. So I think it's a good book, and I would recommend it loose from this video. And yeah, I think it's a good match for this song. So if you like Damage Gets Done, I think you might like Perks of Being a Wallflower. Alright, for Who We Are, for my first time when like trying to analyze the song, it was kind of like, okay, this is about love that falls apart, this is about loss of self. But then when I read the lyrics things, it's supposed to be in the, I don't know, 8th Ring of Hell, based on Dante's Inferno, I don't remember, but it's about anger and wrath, which I didn't really get when listening to the song. But that's okay, because the book I'm recommending on the song matches both my interpretation and what I learned after interpreting. And that's Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. Yeah, Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. It's the book that The Handmaiden, the movie, is based on. And it has to do with, I'm not going to go too detailed because, first of all, it's a chunky book. It's around 600 pages, so be warned if I took a while to read it, I'm not gonna lie, but I did enjoy it. And it has to do with poverty, it has to do with theft, it has to do with identity, sexual, also about, it's queer. It's not, I wouldn't put it at the center of the book, but it's queer, a queer book. And it's just very interesting, and it has, I think it has to do with, there's themes of love, romantic love, and as well as of lust, but also of loss and kind of the anger that comes with loss. So I think it's a matchy book. Yeah. Alright, those were the first 8 songs of Unreal Unearth's tracklist, and I'm happy with the books I selected. I hope you are as well. If you have any recommendations for me based on these songs, please share your thoughts and share your recommendations, because I'm very curious. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll be posting part 2 next week, and I hope you stay well, stay healthy and hydrated, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye!